All right, everyone, we are going to go ahead and get started. It is 7 o'clock, and I'm really excited to talk about this topic of time management tonight or today, wherever you're listening to it. This is something that I love to be efficient and I love to figure out how can I cut down time that I've invested in terms of how can I just be more efficient and streamline things. And I'm excited to share some of the things that I learned when I had started out that I wish I would have been more mindful of in the beginning stages. So whether you are hopping on and you've already got a business or you're a business owner full time or you're looking to start your own business, these are things to be mindful of as you continue down the path of entrepreneurship. Hi, Jess. So I'll go right ahead. I'm going to keep it on this screen because it's easier for me to see it. So, about me, you guys, if you've been on these webinars, actually a lot about me at this point, and I'm sure you're coming from the podcast. So I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but I'm just happy that you guys are here and diving right into the 5 time management practices to help you cut through the noise when you leap. And like I said, this is even still if you're a business owner, regardless of whatever stage, these are really good tips that you can implement to get more out of the time that you invest doing the things that you're doing, let alone maybe you shouldn't even be doing some of the things that you are doing. So the first one is defining your anchors. And I've shared a little bit in podcast episodes about what I call anchors and what they are, why they're important, and how they can help you. They really help, just like what they're said, they anchor your schedule and they tend to be something that is good for you that by doing this activity or this task will then allow for the rest of your day to be taken care of so that you can stay focused and on task. So again, these are non-negotiables in your life. They are what keep you focused, motivated, your best self. And like I said, they're usually good for you. And why they're important is because by committing to the anchors, you are committing to your success because you know what is good for you. And sometimes through the commitment process of your anchors, you might disappoint people or people want your time, but you are making a decision to commit to your success and knowing what is good for you and showing up and making that conscious decision. So how they help. This is where in moments of decisions, they can act such as a guidance system to make better choices. A really simple, easy one is, let's say that you absolutely know that you have to work out and that workout happens in the morning. So maybe come Thursday night when everyone is out and about and you are sitting there and you're at dinner and you're like, okay, I could have that second or third glass of wine, but I have a workout in the morning. And that workout, having that anchor on your schedule already is allowing you to make a better educated decision to make better choices in the moment. Granted, it happens where sometimes it just doesn't matter. But these are really identifying your anchors and knowing what is best for you. Another example is getting up and meditation, if it's walking, working out, journaling, time away from the computer for your lunch, anything that's your anchor is something that is good for you. And then it's also what I'm going to talk about in schedule and blocking is using those anchors to really cement your schedule so that you can put them on your schedule and then build around it. Because why wouldn't you want to keep an anchor, especially if it's going to help you manage and be more peaceful, like meditation throughout the day? You want to make sure that you are scheduling them on your calendar. So number 2 is implement the time block scheduling. So what is time block scheduling? This is where it's a mixture of batching and then the blocking. The batching is when you are doing similar tasks together versus going in and out of a similar task. And this helps save so much time and energy. And the blocking piece is literally physically blocking out the time on your calendar for those tasks. I will mention that as you start to implement, get familiar with blocking and batching, it takes some time to maybe you're going to set it for 1 week and you're going to try it for a week and you realize, okay, that's not the best way that I can block my schedule. So you might change it the next week. It's going to take some time to get used to, but stick with the process, because once it's in place, it can be really beneficial to being productive. So again, examples of tasks to batch could be responding to emails, editing content, writing email content, creating downloads, responding to social media messaging, responding to client inbox, like invoices or inquiries, scheduling social media, any type of in-person meetings, maybe phone calls. You've got accounting, conducting podcast interviews. This is really big. In the beginning, when She Did It Her Way first started 3 years ago, I would leave my schedule open Monday through Thursday. And I would do a podcast interview at any time. I just wanted to make sure that I could, accommodate that guest. And what had happened is I became so exhausted because every day I was having to get myself into this energetic state of getting ready to do an interview. And then I'd only do one, and then I'd have to do another one the next day. And so what I've learned now is to batch all of the interviews together because I'm using that momentum of that energy to carry me through each and every single interview. So again, continuing, it could be filling out surveys, or if you're responding to something, personal tasks. So like ordering groceries, writing out B-Day cards. These are all tasks that I put in my Asana that I have in my She Did It Her Way business hub headquarters, which if you haven't checked out Megan Min's Asana HQ, it's $97. It's amazing. She gives you templates to use in Asana, and that's exactly what I did for my Asana. And so I'm able to keep track of anything that we specifically need for groceries, people's birthdays. So then I'll get notification. I always order cards at the beginning of every single month so that they get shipped and then I have them. And so I'm never without a card. All those types of things, like anything that you can automate and then anything that you can do together is just going to help you be way more efficient as you do those tasks as well. So one of the things, and actually Michael Hyatt, I was listening to a podcast of his this weekend, and he does this, but I got this from Megan Min. So creating an ideal calendar. So whatever software management tool that you use for your calendar, I use Gmail, is creating a separate calendar of an ideal calendar. So this is where, again, it's going to take practice. You're going to go through versions of it. But and this will look different if you are running your business full time or you are in a corporate job, but it's still the same type of intention of you're blocking your time, you're setting like when you're going to do certain things and what that looks like. So if you see where I've got it, this is just Monday through Friday. So every day it's blocked out 6 a.m. Wake up. I do my morning routine of journaling. I'll bring in anything else that I want to do outside of journaling, stretching, drinking my glass of water, brushing my teeth, all that. Do that in that hour time frame. And then I spend 30 minutes looking at the money. I log in and I look at my US bank account and I just check in there and make sure things are going in and out, things are distributed appropriately. If it's doing profit first. So if we had revenue come in, I will then divvy it up based on the percentages. So really just getting in the habit of spending time looking at your money, paying attention to where money's coming in, where's it going out, where are you spending it? Maybe you have monthly subscriptions and you might find that you don't need one anymore, but you wouldn't know that unless you checked it. So this is also helping create habits. And then 7:30 to 8:30 is email marketing. So I'll dive into my ConvertKit account and I will look at what's working, what's not. Again, this is just getting in the habit of being able to get familiar, but then also just spend time in there. And then from 8:30 to 9:30, spend on social media. 9:30 to 10:30, there's podcasts. It varies throughout the days as well. But one of the things I want to draw your attention to is the 4:30 p.m., the workout. So working out, like I had mentioned before, is a non-negotiable for me. And with this example, I know that my workout is always going to be at 4:30 p.m. every day, except for Friday. I usually do a later or an earlier one because, well, if it was later, it would be way easier on a Friday to slack off. So that's why I moved it up to a lunch one. And then I build in travel time. So then I can build my schedule back into it and then just start blocking things. Like you can see the podcasting. So one of the days I'll do podcast interviews on that Thursday open block there. So again, it's just changing, really looking at what are the tasks that I'm doing in and out all the time that I then can batch together, that it makes sense for me to do it all together. Let's see. So then before I actually go on to that too, another thing that I didn't put in here, but I also want to bring attention to is blocking out your week. So one of your weeks might be all about strategy. One of your weeks might be out of or client engagement. So you're talking to people on the phone, you're doing in-person meetings. Another week might be that you are, for this example, I might just spend an all she did it her way stuff. So you can actually then go a little bit deeper and block into scheduling or go into week blocking. But I didn't want to put this in here because I didn't want to spend too much time on the week blocking because I didn't want to overwhelm, because I think the first step is to really understand batching and then blocking your schedule. And then once you get that under control, then you can go into the week batching or blocking. So again, the ideal calendar is really about you having some fun, thinking about how you ideally want your days to look like. Make sure you create buffers, because sometimes if the creativity is flowing, you don't want to cut it off when it's really good. I block out Fridays are really good for reflection days, assess, what went well, what can I improve. Usually those are when I meet with my VAs for 30-minute catch-up calls to see how things are going, if we need to change anything. And then I leave Friday afternoons open. That also might be times when I do educational things, where if I bought an online course, I'll sit down and watch it and go through the material, because then it's at the end of the day and I'm not necessarily exerting so much energy that I have to be in this creative state flow where I'm burning a ton of calories creating content on a Friday afternoon. I really try to do no calls or any sort of external engagement until after 10 a.m. And then before 10 a.m. is really when I can take a moment, and I haven't looked at email yet, so I'm not bombarded or I'm overwhelmed, and I have the highest chance of being focused at this point because I haven't had a lot of things come up on my plate yet. And then again, decide which days you do tasks, and then every month there are 2 to 3 days, depending on my overall schedule, that I'll block out for podcast interviews. And that is now so you have to, it's like a changing what is it? It's like a ever breathing, living, changing document, because you're always kind of tweaking to see what works best so that you can ultimately get it at the top there. Like I said, I used to do all podcast interviews throughout the week at any day. And then I would just do it once a month. And then I switched it that I had it open every Monday and people could block out times. And then I realized that from a, scheduling standpoint and production, that doesn't make sense. So now it's just one day a month that I do all my interviews, unless the guest can't do it that day. So there you go. Again, so when I go out and I schedule my next week on a Friday, I pull up the ideal calendar and overlay it, and then actually manually put in to the calendar for that week what actually is going on, in case, again, if anything needed to shift, then it's okay to do it that way as well. Okay, so number 3, you've gone through all of this, not only creating your ideal calendar, but even as it stands today, if your calendar isn't ideal, it's still important to know that you need to defend your calendar. When you go out and you make that leap, if you haven't already, or even as a new business owner, people want your time. It's new, it's shiny. People are like, what are you doing? Let's chat. We should meet up. All this noise comes in, and it's a beautiful thing that you have this opportunity and there's so many things going on. But I really want you to be mindful of where you're giving your time to, and making sure that it is going to bring fruits of your labor, and it is ultimately driving your business so that it allows you to show up and really work on your business, and the whole reason why you left corporate America. So for the calendar is for things that are time specific. So events, appointments, or anything that you have to be on time for, whether it's business or personal. And as a result of making something time specific, you have to work around it and defend it this time against other tasks, or influence how you spend the rest of your day, and where you can before or after it. So what could happen, and is if you don't want to get in the habit of putting things on your schedule and then having to rearrange and change them. And then, you have coffee scheduled at 10 a.m., but then something else comes up. So then you're like, hey, 10 a.m., can we do 10:30? Because then I now have a 9:30, and rescheduling. So you really want to practice getting your structure in place and sticking to it. This was something that I dealt with a lot, especially when I was in transition, when I was traveling and doing independent contract work. Sometimes I wouldn't even know if I had a gig until 2 weeks before, and they would say, hey, we're doing this, we need you. And so then it would completely caused me to have to do a lot of rework because I had to change the schedule and make it so that I then can travel, but then I would also have to just change a lot of things. So in order to avoid rework, once it's on your calendar, stick to it and then work around it as well. So, because if we don't have anything to defend on our calendar, we leave our days up to chance, leaving us unfocused and easily distracted. So, every time you say yes to one thing, you're indirectly saying no to another thing. If you're saying yes to staying out late with girlfriends, let's say, then you are indirectly saying no to a good night's sleep. You may be indirectly saying no to one of your anchors if it's working out. And so, really acknowledging that when we say yes to one thing, we're indirectly saying no to another thing. And so, again, put all important tasks, appointments, calls on the calendar, whether it is content creation, email marketing, social media scheduling, and strategy. And when it comes to putting things on the calendar, instead of just blocking out 30 minutes or an hour and writing content creation, when you go in to put in the week, like write down, instead of content creation, write down what you want what do you want to have created in that hour time frame. So you're keeping yourself accountable to say, instead of even if your ideal week might say content creation, then when you go to schedule it in your calendar, you'll say something like create five steps to a successful launch checklist. Like that's what you want to have done and created in that 60 minutes. So always think about, what do I want to accomplish? Don't just say email marketing or social media scheduling, get specific. Then before saying yes to something, see if it is something you should be saying yes to, and then you use your calendar as a tool. So does this align with my goals? We talked about, I think it was the first webinar, about goal setting and how important it is and really knowing where we're going. Because if we don't know where we're going, then we don't really have anything to defend on our calendar. If we're just aimlessly showing up and saying, yeah, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, then it's hard to really keep ourselves on track to accomplishing those goals. So again, defend what is already on the calendar before spending additional time to make it shift it to make something else fit, which I talked about that as well. So as new entrepreneurs, early stages, again, sometimes it's like throwing things against the wall to see what sticks and to really get clear on what our target market, our audience is, or where we should be spending our time. But our focus should be, how can I be more efficient, productive, and with my time? And how can I protect it for the items that move my business forward so that I'm doing the right things when I need to be doing them as well? So I have so many things that I wish I would have done differently, but I'm hoping these are helpful for you guys. So this is an example, meeting people for coffee. And I don't know if this is just living in a large city because it's really accessible. You can hop a train, bus, whatever it is. But let's say you agree to meet someone for a 30-minute coffee meeting. And it's a coffee minute meeting is actually more than just the 30 minutes that you schedule with that person. So one, you get ready and you leave your house. So most of the time you're already ready anyways, but when you work from home and you typically are maybe in sweatpants until you go work out, that is also me most of the time, unless I'm going out of my house. But if you are scheduling coffees all different days of the week, again, you want to batch it. You don't want to just do one coffee date here, one coffee date there. You want to try to get all of them back to back to back, because then you can be most efficient. And like I said, use that energy. So you get ready, you leave your house, you transport yourself to the coffee shop, excuse me, whether it's through car, a bus, a train. Let's say we can assume it's 25 minutes total to leave some room for parking. Then you've got the 30-minute coffee meetup, assuming both of you and your friend are on time, or this acquaintance is on time. And then you transport yourself home. So assume another 25 minutes, and then you arrive home. So just doing one-off coffees actually takes a lot of time and mental energy away from your ability to be creative and your ability to invest that time and energy into your business. Like I said before, when I would do coffee meetings every other day, it was meeting anyone in person who wanted to meet, and I didn't have a filter, and I wish I did have a filter. So you want to batch your coffee meetings, and it's okay to say no to a coffee meeting and actually suggest a phone call. It is totally fine to do that. It is so, because look how much time you would save. Now, there is something to be said if you do meet for people in person, which still happens, but it's just, again, being mindful and having that focus of ultimately getting yourself to a place where you are protecting that calendar and that time of yours. because this is you want to reserve, you have the right to protect your calendar because you are working on your business, and your business is your most important thing, and you are your most important asset in your business as well. And you want to keep the main thing the main thing. We tend to, in the beginning stages, have shiny ball syndrome, and we get a lot of ideas and we'll see a lot of different things, and we can easily be pulled in different directions. But having the boundaries already in place, knowing what your main thing is, you know your goals, you know what you're after, you know the next steps, it will help you defend and protect your calendar, because the most important person when it comes to your business, like I said, is you. You're the brains, the strategy, the energy, the focus, the hope, and the doer. And if you are not in the right mindset, then you cannot sustain, you cannot grow, you cannot exist. So everything is about protecting your time and energy and making the right choices and keeping the main thing the main thing. So you want to create a system. Let's say you assume that you might, when it comes to the coffee chats, assume that you have a 2-hour block every single week that you leave open to meet people or to do calls. Maybe you reserve one night a week to do a networking event. Only one night, not 2, not 3. Maybe you only reserve 2 nights a month to do networking events, whatever that looks like. You can work from the same coffee shop during that 2-hour window every week. And when people reach out to you to say something like, great, I'll be working from this coffee shop here at this time. I used to feel so guilty when I would suggest a place that I knew I was working at. I'm like, oh my gosh, like they want to meet for coffee, and then I'm telling them to come here. Like, I felt so guilty. And really, the other person doesn't know that you're doing this, and you're simply working from your coffee shop. That's what you're doing. That's where you're having that person meet you. So really thinking, again, going back to batching. If you do phone calls, you can easily set up a Calendly link where people can directly schedule a call with you as well. Or you can even do a Calendly link to have people schedule a time at a coffee shop with you as well. Just really trying to find if there's repeatable process, like how can you streamline it and make it more efficient that way as well. And then knowing it's okay to say no. So this was, again, really hard for me in the beginning to practice because I didn't want to let people down, and I thought that I needed to and should say yes. But however, what happened was I kept meeting people for the same reason, and it usually consisted of them wanting to talk about leaving their corporate job and moving into entrepreneurship. Then when I created She Did It Her Way, I created She Did It Her Way so people could find resources and learn more. And so when you get to a place and you find in your business specifically, whatever you're an expert at, people asking you for your time and they're asking you the same questions, you really want to think ahead and maybe there's an opportunity, not always, you don't have to, but maybe there's an opportunity for you to create like a resource or something on your website so that when people ask you that, you can just kindly point them in that direction and protect your calendar and let them know, like, if they have any questions after going through that, then feel free to reach out. Maybe they can book a time on your calendar. They can buy an hour of your time, whatever that looks like for you. And it's also getting comfortable at suggesting that they hire you for your time. I had a lot of people ask me about podcasting, and it really, like, I love podcasting. I could talk about how to start a podcast. I could do all that, but that's not talking about podcasting and spending my time doing that isn't serving people like you guys. It's not serving me to create content because you guys are not asking for podcasting resources or how to start one. You guys are asking about how to start a business, and that's where I want to spend my time. And so I would suggest people, like, great, if you want to talk about it, I have this resource. If you want anything further, like, we can talk about, scheduling a time and spending an hour together and what that looks like. So having that focus, again, this might not be something that you are immediately experiencing, but having the foresight to maybe, like, know this may potentially come down the pipeline for you. Then the fourth is, this one's pretty short. It's being mindful of social media and what social media can also trigger. So social media is a wonderful place. This is how She Did It Her Way not survives, but this is how people find out about She Did It Her Way, through social media. I mean, podcasting, we have Instagram, all these things. So it's a wonderful, wonderful tool, but it's also being mindful of what it could potentially trigger. If you were on the webinar when I talked about Napoleon Hill, where thoughts create emotions, emotions drive action, and action produces a result, sometimes being on social media can trigger an emotional trigger, which then derails us from wanting to do anything. We can find ourselves in this mental vacuum thinking, oh my gosh, so-and-so is further along than me. How am I ever going to do this? This seems so far out of reach. And we go down this rabbit hole into all these thoughts. So that's why you really want to be mindful and protect your space when it comes to social media and have intention when you get on it. So you want to set boundaries. Maybe there's only certain times where you check social media. Maybe, oh gosh, like one of the boundaries when I talk about this. So I like to remove temptations. I don't like 98% of the time I don't keep the cell phone in the bedroom, because then it easily, if I did, and I would easily get on it. I would start scrolling through Instagram and I'd be like, oh, one more minute, couple more minutes. And then it would be 30 minutes later. And I'm like, what did I gain from this? So placing the phone somewhere where it isn't easily accessible, I put it out by my computer desk, and then I leave it there most of the time until after I get done with my morning routine. Sometimes if I do take it out, I'll try to leave it on airplane mode. And if I take, because sometimes I take pictures of sunrises and stuff, but I really try to practice not posting it until after I've finished the morning routine. That's also another batching. If you do stories and it's something that you don't want to disrupt yourself, but you're taking pictures, maybe just take them with your camera roll and then set aside time later to upload them all at once. Again, that's batching for you as well. And again, like have a purpose and or time limit. So we get a lot of DMs through the She Did It Her Way one. And instead of me going in there throughout the day, checking them and responding to them, I really try to only do one pop in the morning during the social media, and then do another pop in at night to either post and respond to them, so that I'm not constantly living in there. It's also similar to email, although email, you want to batch. You don't want to just keep logging in and have it up the whole day, because then you're going to be tempted to want to check it all the time. And there's certain times of the workflow, like right now I'll have my email up because we're in Her Way Society is launching. So if people have questions, I really want to be there to answer them, because that is something that I'm passionate about. After that, I'll be a little bit more strict about how leaving my email up or actually not leaving it up, so that I can focus and dive into what I need to work on. You can also download apps to help you keep track of how much time you spend on social media, which is great and scary at the same time. So there's an app called Moment, tracks your your screen time. Yeah, it's a little scary. I don't always use it, but sometimes when I think I need to reel it in as another reminder, I use it, and then I see the numbers and I'm like, all right, yeah, this is great. Like, definitely don't need to be on the phone that much. So using the softwares and the software, let's say Moment, to be able to reel you back in and get you focused and on track is really great as well. And number 5 is know your big 3 for the day. So at the end of each day, determine what are the 3 things you need to get done tomorrow. I have a month by month calendar that I use. It just lays out like the month of July, the month of June, everything like that. And then in each day is when I'll write the 3 things that I want to get done for tomorrow. I also just ordered Michael Hyatt's focus planner, I think it is. And I'm really, really excited to get it, because it seems to incorporate the 3 things that you need to get done. And I heard about it on a podcast and I was like, ooh. So I'm really excited. I will let you guys know how that goes. So the tasks though, a task that you would write down is doing something that moves your business forward. It's going to help drive revenue. It's tied to a larger goal, and it is specific. So this kind of really just helps you focus. Like if you only get those 3 things done that day, then it's considered a win. Maybe you don't get everything done, but if you can get those 3 things done, it's a win. The task that you would write down is not a task that is repetitive that you'll be doing again later, because then it would be something that you would want to ultimately automate. And again, checking email is not a task. Maybe you have to write a specific email to someone that may result in moving your business forward and towards your larger goal. That's different than checking email. Just being in there to check email to feel as if you're doing something or accomplishing something is not one of your big 3s. So again, those did not pop up on Canva, you guys. Those dots, my goodness. Okay, to recap, 1 is define your anchors. So those, again, are usually the things that are good for you. Number 2 is implement time blocking. Make a list, brainstorm. If you downloaded the workbook, you can brainstorm the different types of tasks that you're doing and then see how you can batch them, whether you're a full-time business owner or if you are in your side hustle phase. Like this is going to be really super helpful, because then every day, if you do an hour of stuff before and after work, then you're going to want to try to batch all those tasks together. Number 3 is defend your calendar. And we talked about like defending your calendar also may at times feel like it's FOMO, fear of missing out. But know that you're doing it to ultimately like get you to where you want to go. Be mindful of social media and the role that it plays in your life and if it's a distraction or what that does. And then 5 is really getting in the habit of writing your big 3s for the day, the big 3s for the next day. And then maybe if you only got 2 out of the 3, you carry that third one over to the next day. But just having the big 3 because it helps create focus for your day. And you guys, Her Way Society. Again, this is all, you can get all the information. She did herwaypodcast.com/Her Way Society. It is open for enrollment until July 3rd. It's through midnight. I had a really great question today come in my inbox or over the weekend. This is for anyone. You don't have to be in corporate America. That's the primary market. But the secondary market are women who have started their business and they're in the early stages because it's that community, it's support. We're still going to be going through and covering a lot of the basics of building a business as well. So that is it. We are finito. We're at the end. This was such a fun series. Thank you guys so much for joining the Finding Your Freedom series. If you have any questions, feel free to pop them into the chat box as well. I'm going to hang out here for a few more minutes to see if you guys have any questions. Other than that, we are done. And I hope to see you guys in Her Way Society. Like this is going to be awesome. I just know it. And it's going to be a party. It's going to be a great community. I can't wait. So thank you guys for hanging out tonight, especially with the 4th of July. My goodness. I realized that. I was like, oh, it is so close to the 4th, but people still came. So that's good. That's great. Okay, so I'm going to assume that no one has any questions. Thank you guys for jumping on this evening. Oh, wait, no. Here we go. We do. Oh, here we go. This is great. Love the time. Oh, thanks, Jess. Yay. Okay. Yeah, I hope you guys have an amazing 4th of July. We are going to get started, obviously, after the 4th. We'll go you'll hear, like, I'll be pretty quiet in Her Way Society until after the 4th because I realize, like, people are gone. And the last thing you want is just to create overwhelm when you're actually enjoying and being on holiday. So we're going to pick up starting next week. We have our first expert call. So yes, awesome. Okay, you guys have a wonderful, wonderful night. And then you guys will get the replay after this as well. I'll send that out tomorrow morning after it downloads on the computer. My assistant will do that. So yes, enjoy. Happy 4th of July. You guys have a wonderful evening.